learning a lot what we can do around with our children during these COVID times as such.
Wonderful. Amazing to hear that, Anisha. Thanks for sharing. We
Thank you.
also have Naveed Rahman. Would you like to share? So our sessions are very interactive, Naveed. So please feel free to share anything you would like to share about yourself, about your child. All right. So it's 11:05. Sheetal, how many registrations did we have? So I think we have about 12, 14 registrations. And so do we wait or do we start? What do you say, Sheetal?
We can start, Pawan.
All
I'm
right.
not sure. Yeah.
So Nidhi.
Maybe I can quickly brief about the school and post that, if the other parents are joining, they will not miss what you're going to share.
Sure.
Right? Right. So, hi, good morning, Hanisha and Navid. I am Nidhi Vora, and I am a lead parent coordinator here at Blue Blocks. I finished my AMI Montessori training in the year 2005 and 6. So, past 3 years, I have been working with Blue Blocks. It is a great pleasure working with parents, knowing different parenting styles, learning from them, sharing my what I have learned from the philosophy. So it's been a great experience these 3 years that I have been into. To tell you a little about Blue Blocks, we started in the year 2009, and Blue Blocks is a Montessori school. We are also very proud to be affiliated with the Cambridge Assessment International Education. So we will now be offering the Cambridge IGCSE curriculum plus the Montessori program from grade 1 to grade 10. So we have two campus. Our first campus is at DLF. This was the campus which we started with. In this campus, we have children, as young as the criteria for children to join us is once they start walking, they can join us. So we have children as young as then till 6 years of age. This age group is works here at DLF. And the other campus that we have is at Telapur. That's our high school campus. So there also we do have our pre-primary program happening along with our high school happening. So now, to tell you a little about how Montessori, it sounds pretty new, sounds that, these days we get to hear a lot of new systems and what are these. So sometimes, for parents, it's surprising to know that this system is not new. It is more than 100 years old. And the first Montessori school was established on 6th January 1907. It was named Casa di Bambini, meaning children's house. And that's how a lot of schools are also known as House of Children. Now, what is AMI? Now, AMI stands for Association Montessori International. This was started by Dr. Maria Montessori in the year 1929. It has its headquarters in Amsterdam, and we have the training centers all across the world. We are very happy that in India also we have a lot of training centers, and in Hyderabad especially we've been having a training center for 3 years to 6 years. That's where even we did our training. So I did my training there. Pawan did his training there. Our co-founder, Miss Munira Hussain, she did her training there. And all our lead directresses working with us in Blue Blocks, they are all AMI certified. So AMI is renowned for enabling teachers to become masters for transformative teaching by implementing the Montessori approach with the highest level of fidelity. AMI teachers create learning environment that are hands-on, and they are very self-learning that we have, and it's a very joyful process wherein children enjoy while working. It's not of a pressure. So everything that's needed to create a lifelong and active learners is what is done in Montessori environment. There are 4 modules that we study in Montessori philosophy. The first module is for the age group of birth to 3 years. Second one is 3 years to 6 years. Then we have 6 years to 12 years, and we have 12 years to 18 years. So with us in our team, Pawan is the one who's done all 3 trainings already. So he's done the training from birth till 12 years of age. And proudly as a Blue Blocks team, I can share that he's the first guy in the country who had done the toddler program, because there were people who had done the program, but they didn't start the environment. So Blue Blocks has the first is toddler environment started by a AMI certified person. So with, while doing his training, he's experienced working with children with this in this age group of birth to 12 years. And it's been a great experience that we've been into with Blue Blocks. Now if I quickly brief you a little about Pawan Goel, and we'll hear more from him. So he completed his MBA with the intention to take up his family business. So however, he was destined to work in the field of education when he chanced upon Maria Montessori's education philosophy. And thus he began his Montessori journey in the year 2004. So he enrolled himself for the training during that time. He promptly enrolled for the training of first, he started with 3 to 6 years. Post that, he went for his toddler program, because that really excited him to know more about, what is happening with still younger ones. So and he has his he has his own 2 daughters, and he's a very proud father of having their base as a Montessori base. And how both he and his wife, yes, even after doing the training, not that we are doing the best, but it has really helped all of us, in making fewer mistakes. And that's what he shares with his experience, with all the learning, with all the practices that he's done. He's committed to spread this word to the parental society through these parenting workshops, and was very happy to hear how Anisha shared that, how wonderfully it has worked with us. That's like, end of the day, we get a lot of satisfaction when we hear it from a parent like this, that, our parenting sessions are helping them somewhere. So he's done multiple corporate workshops in all the big MNCs, and in the journey of these 12 years, is almost touched upon 40,000 parents whom he has trained. So this is what I wanted to share about him, and would really love to hear more from him about his ideology on Montessori, and about today's topic. So over to you.
Thanks for sharing that, Nidhi.
Yeah.
Today we are going to talk about what interests your child. So we also have one more parent who has joined, JDL Jela. Would you like to give a quick introduction about yourself and your child? That would really help us understand the age group we are addressing.
Actually, I have logged in from my husband's account.
Okay.
This video. Hi, my name is Prajakta. So I have a 10-year-old son, and yeah,
Hi, Prajakta. That's a small world, so I know her. And I think I'm seeing her after ages on this session.
Yes. I thought you wouldn't remember, but okay, thanks.
So nice to see you in the session.
Same here.
So we will be talking about, age group from 0 to 12. So great. So we are looking at what interests your child. Since we are a very small group, let us see how we can make it really interactive. So let's begin with you sharing. What do you think interests your child?
The thing is, he has a very, what do you say? He's very receptive to everything, and he's a nerd if you look at him. So anything that you give him which is simple will not be accepted. So school is a very boring thing for him. So I mean, to make him sit for so long is a very big challenge, because since it's online also, and there's no exercise, I mean, there's no movement, there is nothing interesting that happens, because whatever happens in school he already knows. So what challenges me the most is to keep him occupied with that level of his level of intelligence
Ah,
to, I mean, see, because I don't have a logical mind, and he does, and his father does, and he's a working dad, so it's difficult for him to, cater to his needs all the time. So that's one of the biggest challenges that I've faced. Like, I'll give you an example. He started to learn the Rubik's cube, how to solve it, and he like mastered it within 2 weeks. So like, he learned how to solve it, and then he started to work on the timing,
Mhm.
which came up to almost 40 seconds, which
Wow.
is, yeah. So that's, and he tried to teach me, and that didn't work out. So I mean, I'm literally struggling to keep up with him. I have a very creative mind, so for me, painting and drawing is the thing for me, but for him, he is not interested in those. So
It's more into reasoning and logic and
yes,
analytical
exactly.
interest.
So I thought maybe I would learn something new to.
We'll ensure that this will be of decent learning experience for you. Sure.
Thank you.
Anisha, what do you think interests your 2 year and 4 month old?
Um, he's also a very logical child, so he kind of with the kind of age he is, he loves to question everything. If we do anything, he questions, and to a certain level we can answer, but yep, after that, I mean, I'm tired of answering so many questions to a pertaining area. So I'm just trying to he's logical, he has inclination towards nature as such, so he keeps asking about animals, plants, and then mathematics is something which he's keen about. So I move around the areas of that, and um, I'm just trying to teach him phonetics. I mean, just to learn that, so that I can start teaching him spellings. And I know he's too young. This age group is too young. Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, like, he's because of his age, he's very keen on learning everything. So that's actually a plus sign for me. But I'm just still struggling to understand uh, if there is something which I should be doing around to improving the scope of areas provided to the child, so that I can understand where his actual interest will start falling into in the later part of his life. So I mean, I've opened up space to everything, towards logical, towards nature, towards music, towards dance. I just let him do what he wishes. He shows interest in everything, so I'm a little confused parent right now.
Got that. By the end of session, you will have a lot of clarity on what he really is interested in. All right. So
Okay.
let's begin with the kind of curiosity our children have, and the younger they are, the more curious they are, right? They're curious around about everything which happens around them. With the younger one, you can see how the child is curious about what the domestic help is doing with regard to cleaning utensils, to cleaning floor, mopping, sweeping, dusting. While you're cooking in the kitchen, you would see right from how you're preparing the food to how you're cooking, how you're serving. The child is very curious, right? The child is very curious about all the conversations which are happening. The child is curious about how everything feels, how what kind of sound every object makes. You will see how child is trying to bang objects and try to see the sound it makes, try to see how it feels. Is there a response? Yeah. So you would see how the child is very curious about the everything around him or her. The child is curious about all those little tools like spoon and fork, how they are being used. You would notice how the child is very curious about the nature, from that little butterfly to that little ant which is moving, the plant, the flowers, the trees, the rocks, the animals. Child is very curious about all kinds of animals, the lakes, the water. The child is curious about the sunlight and plays with his own shadow, right? So it is this curiosity which creates they being interested in everything around them when they are very very, very young. If you look at in the prenatal life, physically the child extracts all the nutrients from the mother's body, right? And when the child is born, in the very first year, you would see how the child is very, very much interested in listening to you. Whenever you're speaking, you would see how the child is looking at your lips very, very carefully. The child is interested in putting everything in the mouth in the first year. Any object you give, you would see it would straight away go into the child's mouth. The child is very much interested in movement. The child has learned how to turn from that supine position to the prone position, and the child is kicking his legs. The child is very much interested in exploring things. Between 1 and 3 years, now there is very strong need for language where the child wants to know the names of anything and everything around. At around 1.5 years, you would see the child wants to know the names of everything around. The child will point out at everything around him and start asking, what is this? What is this? The child is very much interested in movement. The child is running, jumping, swinging, sliding, all kinds of gross motor movement the child is interested in. The child is interested in all kinds of fine motor, from pincer movement to prehensile coordination to different kinds of grasp to using hands to explore things. Between 1 and 3, the child is interested in being with his or her peer group. While they don't participate much, but they want to now be around their peer group and play with them. Now, between 3 and 6, whatever sensorial impression the child has collected in the first 3 years, now the child is interested in segregating them. The child wants to know the names of all the colors. The child wants to know whether this is light or heavy. The child wants to know whether it is rough or smooth. The child wants to know the names of all kinds of colors. The child wants to know, is it called sweet? Is it sour? Is it bitter? Is it salty? What kind of taste it is? The child wants to understand, is it loud or is it soft? The child wants to experience all kinds of smells and understand what is good smell, what is bad smell. Now, between 6 and 12, if you look at, this is the phase where the children are exploring into intellectual development. At around 4, this child's reasoning mind starts to awaken. At around 6, now from the sensorial stimulation, the child has a newfound interest, which is very intellectual. The child has a very strong need for imagination and reasoning mind. The child wants to understand how everything is interconnected, how everything is interdependent, how everything is related to each other, all those interrelationships, and how all those interactions happen between plants and animals and human beings and plants. It is this reasoning mind which the child is very interested between 6 and 12. The child wants to understand the contrast and similarities. What is something which is contrasting and what is similar between these two? Between 6 and 12, children want to understand the cause and effect. How, whenever there's a cause, what is the effect? Children want to distinguish things and classify all the information they have under different headings. Between 6 and 12 is where there is very strong moral development. Like between 6 and 12, you would notice how anything you do with children will start using this phrase very commonly. It's not fair. They want to be fair. They want the whole world to be fair. With regard to social development, this is the time where children start to collaborate. With regard to physical development, they are playing sports. Now they are not just interested in free play, but they want to play sport, they want to play games, they want to learn different kind of sports. And this also coincides with the very strong physical stamina, which leads them to play more and more. Now, if you look at what really interests children in the first 12 years, the answer to that is everything interests this child. Everything around them interests them. Why does everything interest them? Because every everything which is happening around them, everything happening in the world stimulates their mind. They are interested in music in the first 12 years. They're interested in dance. They're interested in everything because each of these are the nutrients required for their brain development. Each of these nutrients are very, very important for their learning and development. At around 12, now they start to show interest in very specific things. Let's say with regard to sport, now your child might want to play only a certain kind of sport. With regard to academic, the child might start to like either physics or chemistry or math. With regard to singing, you would see the child with till 12 might be interested in listening to all kinds of songs, but after 12, now the child has a very specific choice. With reading, children between 0 to 12 would love to read every kind of thing, but by the time they are 12, now they start to develop a strong preference. Like they might want to read only fiction, or some of them want to read only about history or non-fiction. So after 12, now they start to focus on one particular thing which really is interesting to them. So this is how the whole thing transitioned from 0 to 12, and then 12 post 12. They start showing interest in everything. They stop showing interest in everything and start to focus on few things. Now, if you look at the kind of questions children ask, the amount of questions children ask, have you noticed?
Yes, I mean, it's more than what we actually probably think about a piece of area, what they're asking.
See, they keep asking so many questions, and that clearly resembles their interest in learning, right? At around 1.5, between 0 to 1.5, they want to know who are the people around the child. Now, before even the child is asking, who are you? We tell the child, I'm your mama, I'm your papa, I'm your grandfather, I'm your grandmother. So before even they ask that question, we are addressing that question. At around 1.5, they start to understand that every object in the environment has a name, and now they want to know the names of everything. So that is what leads to the phase of what period. Between 1.5 to 3, they will ask you, what is this? What is this? What is this? At around 4, the reasoning mind starts to get stimulated. And if you ask a 4-year-old to get something, your 4-year-old will ask you, how much or how many. Now that's the beginning of the reasoning mind. 6 plus, children want to know whys and hows of everything. So between 6 and 12, they start asking how, why, when. So it is that curiosity, is these phases which get them to show interest in anything and everything. Now, if both parenting and the schooling tries and understand those specific interests which they have in those specific time periods, in during those specific windows, then the kind of learning and development which can happen with children is truly, truly immense. Most of the time, the struggle there is because what we are offering to the child doesn't match their interest at that particular time. Do you get that? So Montessori system is all about providing, supporting, giving them what they want during that phase. So between 1.5 to 3, when they are going through this what phase, we focus a lot on giving vocabulary because that is what this 1.5 to 3-year-old is interested in. So between 1.5 to 3, they can learn few thousands of words, provided we show it in a certain interesting manner. Once they get into this reasoning mind, between 4 and 6, the amount of mathematics which happen in Montessori environment is huge. There's a lot of mathematics work which happens because that's what they are interested in. All right. So that is something which we need to understand about what interests our children.
Pavan, can I stop you? I just have a question because you were just mentioning about the what, the vocabulary, and at the age of 1.5 to 3, the child is more about the what period. So if as parents, we actually want more of vocabulary to get into the system. So do you think it is right to get the vocabulary into the system between 1.5 and 3 years?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's what we are saying. And let me give you a small demonstration on how would we want to introduce vocabulary. See, most of the time parents do give vocabulary. You know how they would show the fan few times, and the moment the child has learned that this is fan, now everybody at home is asking, Nana, what is this? If there are guests at home, uncle ko batao ye kya hai? So we teach them few things, but once they have learned, we keep asking them. Most of our time, energy goes into asking. Whereas what child is interested in is not answering. The child is interested in learning because the child is going to that sensitivity to know the names of anything and everything. So the ideal way to introduce vocabulary is by trying to give them real-time objects. So show real-time objects. So how I would teach the vocabulary of this object to a 1.5, 2-year-old is I would hand over this object to the child and say glass. That's it. Reinforce glass. With a younger one, I would just do that. Now, once the child is around 2 years, the grammatical aspect in the brain starts to develop, and now the child wants to also hear a lot of phrases. So, if I'm giving the same vocabulary to a 2.5-year-old, this is what I would do. This is a glass. So
Okay.
here, I gave the whole phrase, but highlighted the word glass.
Glass.
With a younger one, I would just show this and say glass. That's it. So you can give as much vocabulary as possible. Try and do it with all real-time objects at home. For the rest, you can use books. In the books, try and have those books where there's only one picture on one side of the page or max 2 objects. With too many objects, and when you're pointing out at something, the child might be actually looking at something, and then you're showing a butterfly, but the child is looking at elephant, and while you're saying butterfly, the child is looking at elephant and maybe associating the word butterfly with elephant. And when you have these books, try and have books with pictures which are real, not those sketches or drawings with younger ones. They would want to see the real object in 3D format, or at least real pictures.
Okay.
Yeah. Great.
That helps. Thank you.
All right. So we have one more parent who has joined. The ID says Boot 400. Would you like to give a quick introduction? The ID says Boot 400. Would you like to give a quick introduction, please? All right. Yeah. Pratiksha, right? Nidhi, the other parent whom we have? Jeriel.
Prajakta.
Prajakta. Right.
Yeah.
So Prajakta, for a 10-year-old, to stimulate his reasoning mind further, what I can recommend is play a lot of board games.
Okay.
There are a lot of very interesting board games, and it is these board games which stimulate a lot of other aspects of thinking, like lateral thinking, divergent thinking, creative thinking, strategic thinking. So with different board games would stimulate different abilities to think.
Okay.
And considering how his interest is more towards logic, analytical reasoning mind, you will find there are like tons of board games these days, which you can find online, and keep trying different board games to see what really interests him. And I'm sure, you would love to play with him as well.
Yes. Yes.
And yeah.
Pavan, I have a question just because we're talking about a 10-year-old child.
Yeah.
Considering Prajakta's child who is having a very logical mind, I have been seeing these advertisements which are running around because of this COVID situation about 6 to 12 years coding classes by Google and stuff like
Right.
that. Do you think introducing, because of a logical minded child, introducing coding as such, I mean, that will help them to
Yes.
logically think? Do
It's
you
like
think
this.
that will help them?
It's like this. See, coding requires a very strong reasoning mind. Coding is like application of the reasoning mind. That would further stimulate the reasoning mind, but it would require certain ability to reason before children can learn how to code. So what I would recommend is the right age to introduce coding. 9 to 10 years, I would recommend as a right age where that reasoning mind is developed and stimulated to great extent, which can understand the challenges of coding, and that would further stimulate the reasoning mind.
Okay.
Now,
So I think, is that not an option for Project Sun to
He
experiment on, because he is into that. It's right now.
he
yeah,
does coding though. Yes.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
see, now with regard to coding, there are a lot of interesting modules available online. It begins with pictorial coding, and they have tried to make it very child friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anything else you would want me to address specifically, since we are a small group?
So I have realized that see, before he was 9, he was very he would listen to everything that I say. My word was, the this thing. So now it's become like he's getting an opinion of his own,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes the things that he wants to do can be quite harmful for his health.
Right.
Like, for example, he loves to cook. So yeah, so I'm in a meeting. I'm so sorry.
We're all dealing with these challenges.
Sorry. So I want a way to get through to him. Like, I'm good with younger children because I'm a teacher myself. So, but the older ones, I'm not quite sure of how the transition works. He's getting into the preteen phase. It's quite early for him to do so, but it looks like that. And I'm finding it very difficult to deal with his. He gets angry, and I'm not used to him getting angry. And he's a very mild and very sweet child. So that is why I'm not used to him showing his anger. So I don't know how to get through.
This is just the beginning. All right. This is just the beginning.
Komi, just a minute. It's behind that term. Yes. Thank you.
This is just the beginning. All right. They are dealing with a lot of their own challenges and all that. This is the phase where they are too much under pressure about their peer group and want to prove a point to their peer group. They want a lot of social. The need for social development is very high, and in this current situation, I am assuming that social need is something which is just not supported and stimulated at this point of time, right? So what we always look at is the more their energies are consumed, their physical energies consumed, the more their mental energies are consumed, there will be less of this kind of frustration and anger. This anger is a function of lack of emotional development, intellectual development, social development, and physical development. See, let's say a child's social need is fulfilled. Child's physical need is fulfilled. There's a lot of physical activity which the child is involved in. Intellectually, this child is fully stimulated. Emotionally, there is right amount of balance, there is right amount of love, affection at home. You will see there's no need for this anger. This anger is a function of these energies not being consumed in this at this age. So what you need to focus on is, see how his physical energy can be consumed. At home, maybe both of you can do yoga together, or You can come up with, involve him in a lot of physical cleaning activities at home so that that physical energy is consumed and channelized.
Right, right.
For that emotional support, try and listen to him, try and ask him some interesting questions so that you can get some insights into what is bothering him or what is he really worried about. Normally, we most of the time we end up talking to the child and not ask too many questions. So maybe, if you can ask some interesting questions, you might get some insights into what's happening with your 10-year-old.
So can you give me a few examples of like what questions could be asked?
Yeah, like you can share about the challenges you dealt with as a 10-year-old and ask him, what is it that he's worried about, what concerns him, what matters to him.
Okay. No, since I already do that, I mean...
so you're not getting enough insights?
No, I still am. He's just very emotional. So that side of him, I don't get. I mean, I know all his creative sides and his the way he wants to help the environment and this and that. How, I mean, I do research on what questions to ask and all, and I have done that before, that activity.
Brilliant.
But it's about the emotional side of him that he also doesn't understand, and for me to elicit it from him also gets difficult. So, so if you were to give a child emotional or to understand his emotional side, I don't know how to do that,
Yeah, let's see what kind of support we can give. We can give him assurance that, there is total acceptance to who he is. The child experiencing that unconditional love and acceptance is the best way to give that kind of emotional support to the child. And children do get impacted if the relationship between the parents is not great. That is something which impacts their emotional stability big time. The greater the relationship with parents between them is, the greater the emotional balance the child will have.
Right. We live in a joint family structure.
Okay.
So he has to deal with, different people and their different relationships with him.
So I think that's the best thing you're doing, giving that. I'm a product of a joint family, and that is something, which I'm not able to provide to my children. My parents live in Warangal. My elder brother lives in US. So here we are a nuclear family. But having that joint family really helps children with understanding the social dynamics, and there's much more acceptance towards the other human being than children brought up in nuclear family, and specifically within nuclear family with single child. The amount of attention they get so used to it that sometimes when they don't get it, it's difficult for them to handle. Yes. But in a joint family, you do get enough attention, but you are not the focus all the time, right? Everybody else at home is given enough importance, and they start to accept that they are not the only center of attraction.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Pavan, I mean, just because Prajakta was talking about her son has interest towards cooking, if I understood that right, Prajakta, and she is talking that she was trying to get connected in terms of the emotional side. Pavan, do you think if she gives more space to that area and probably she spends more time with him in that area, will she be able to connect easier with her son and probably understand his emotional connect as such?
Yeah, what do you mean by spending time in that area?
He likes to cook, so I think if a mom is beside him and supports him in whatever he wants to do, let him experiment, and then probably when they start interacting on that area, then maybe the son might feel comfortable in terms of sharing his emotional area. I'm not sure if that works. I'm still a very new mom, so I may not be the right person to answer such.
That's a good insight. Going by what they like, if we start to participate, that definitely is something which children would love, surely.
Thank you.
All right, great. So we are offering something very interesting, so this might not be applicable to Prajakta, and we have a parent with the ID Boot 400. Since you haven't shared, we don't know anything about you, but we have something very interesting to share with you, Anisha.
Okay.
I would like Nidhi to take you through this. Nidhi, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Yeah. So can you see the screen, Nidhi?
Yeah, I can see. So to brief you, both of you. So new parents, like, as you guys have shared so much, and uh, implemented a lot of things. Parents were asking us that if there's anything that we can support them at home with, the kind of teaching that we are into. So we've come up with this new plan, which is it's a new program which is called as the Parent Connect, and this program is going to work as a guide for you, with moms to do the homeschooling and engaging children at home. So will be helping you with a lot of activities. So this program is going to be about that. Can I just have the second slide? I can.
Shall I move to the next slide?
Yeah, I think that's good. So yeah, so what does this program, what is it going to be about? This program, in this program, you can enroll yourself from now till May 2021, and the fee for the program would be 5,000. And so this is for the entire program. So we will have group sessions, and these sessions, once in a week, we will have these sessions. Like, we've been having parenting sessions, and maybe you can always put in the session that you would like to, the topic that you would like to hear about. So we'll be conducting group sessions every week for the parents of our Parent Connect. We will have individual session once in a month. So the whole month, whatever queries you have one on one, like whenever we have these sessions, not all the time that we get to hear about your child personally. So when Pawan speaks about so many dynamics, I'm sure with most of us as parents, it's there on our mind. Hey, this is happening with my child. What can I do this with my child? So you can make a note of all those. And once in a month, we will have one-on-one conversation. So that would be purely about your own child. And we can discuss all of the things that you have it on your mind. Next thing would be, there's going to be, we'll be planning a child observation. So this child observation is going to be, again, from our team, we'll share a list of activities with you, and you'll have some time in hand. You can keep all of those stuff ready, and you can get your little one to do, and one of our team members would observe the child performing those. So that can be like a kind of observation that at certain age, how the milestones are to happen, and how are they happening, and all of that. So this program would consist of all of these. You would also get our copy of Lining the Nest as a complimentary. So we'll be sending it over. Lining the Nest is a book which has been, written by Pawan and Ms. Munira Hussain. So they have gathered all their experience and put in this book. So for us here, it's like our Bible. We get back to our book every now and then. Even after reading multiple times, we feel that yes, there's a lot more to learn. So it's an ocean, knowing children. So you will receive the book Lining the Nest, in which especially, Anisha, you can benefit, because there are a lot of topics for young parents, like about toilet training, about food, and all of those. So you will also be getting that. So after the session, we will be sharing this with you, the PDF, and the number has been mentioned. So you can WhatsApp us on that number to get registered, and we'll be happy to help you out.
Sure. Thanks, Nidhi.
Yeah, most welcome.
All right, great. Anything else? Anything else you would want us to address? All right, great. So we are able to close the session 12 minutes early. Anything you would like to say, Nidhi?
As you know, Prajakta has an older one, and we didn't get to hear about Boot. You know how old the child is. So with Anisha, maybe I'll get in touch with you as you have a younger one, and we can have a chat that how you would want things to be further, either with the parent connect or to know about the program. So that one-on-one conversation we can have. You can schedule a meeting with us, as you've been coming and we see your commitment for your child with in terms of Montessori and how it has already started working by implementing certain things. Would love to have a chat with you.
Sure, Nadi, I will do that very soon. Thank you so much for all the support which you guys are providing in terms of parental support. We may not have gone through all of this in our childhood. We had a different kind of upbringing. I mean, yeah, there needs to be an improvement, and I see that with the kind of sessions which I'm getting through with you guys. Thanks a lot, Pavan. Thanks a lot, Nidhi, and your entire team for the complete support which you provide.
Thanks for acknowledging that, Anisha. That really means a lot.
Thank you.